Power to the Pinky podcast with Taylor Marbury. Welcome all. All right. I am so excited for episode 6 today. I've had a great question from TikTok, and one of my followers asked, Ale, hello Ale, she asked this. Let's look over. How does one get better at hammer-ons? Pull-offs seem to have no problems, but hammer-ons never work for me. Okay, this is a totally fair question, and I actually learned how to do hammer-ons before I learned how to do pull-offs, so I found them to be easier, weirdly enough. Like, even to this day, sometimes my pull-offs are sloppy, especially, you know what I mean? Like if I'm going fast. Okay, let's kind of break this down. So there's a couple of songs I would recommend and treating them more like exercises, okay? And I'll show you those in a second. And another thing too, I actually heard this from Keith Richards of all people from the Rolling Stones, was you want to practice this thing without hiding behind any effects. So, you know, whether that be unplugging your electric guitar, just putting it on a clean setting, if you're using an electric, if you're using an acoustic, even better. You want all of your techniques, whether it be hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, bends, as best as you can for some of those bends, right? To ring out regardless of if you're, you know, you don't want to rely on distortion, you don't want to rely on overdrive, you don't want to rely on fuzz, you don't want to rely on reverb, you don't want to have anything. You want to know that you're getting those out, right? So that's the big thing. Okay, so let's start with the first exercise. I'm going to give you a couple exercises and I'm going to give you a couple songs that I like to treat as exercises because, let's be honest, that's way more fun. Okay, so we're going to use the E minor pentatonic scale in first position. And if it sounds like I'm speaking gibberish, just check this out here. We're going to go open. That's the low E first, open low E. And I want you can pick it first. Let's actually pick it out first before we dive into the hammer-ons. Open 3 on low E, open 2 on A, open 2 on D, open 2 on G, open 3 on baby on B, and then open 3 on baby E there, okay? So now we're gonna do it ascending with hammer-ons. So what does that look like? I'm on low E, open hammer-on to 3. Now I like to use my middle. Sometimes I'll even use my ring if I wanna practice that, okay? And what you really want to focus on is where you are landing that finger, okay? A lot of times I'll see my students do this kind of thing. Like they kind of land like back where the fret, you know, like you shouldn't land on the fret line. You shouldn't land way back behind the fret line either. You want to be in that little sweet spot on there and just take your finger and really just plop it down. Like I'm applying quite a bit of pressure to get that sound out. Okay, now you don't want to overdo it. I've actually read a lot of things about beginner guitarists. We want to press down really hard, which we don't want to destroy our hands or any of the tendons or ligaments or anything going on there. Our hands are very delicate. Our fingers are very, very, very delicate. We want to be able to play for many, many years without any kind of pain or anything weird going on with the hands, right? So you just want to sit there so you can consistently, that's a big thing too, consistency, right? And I recommend, again, don't sit there unless you're crazy like me for an hour and go, sit there for a little bit and try it every day. I remember one day I would wake up and I could do it perfectly, right? And then I would wake up the next day and be like, just kidding. So again, we're gonna do that E minor pentatonic scale, in that first position there, okay? So we're gonna go open 3 hammer on, open 2 hammer on the A. I'm gonna go to the D string, open hammer on 2. Open hammer on 2 on G, open hammer on 3, okay, and really I also hear a lot of kind of like rushing into it, like, which I was kind of doing a second ago. You don't want that sound. You want to let that E ring out, plop down. Let's see how long we can sustain that note. Okay, now let's do descending with pull-offs, okay? We're going to start again on that 3rd fret, baby E. Same dealio here for B. We're going to go 3, pull off to open. There we go. We're going to go G, pull off 2 to open. D, 2, pull off to open. A, 2, pull off to open. And then back to low E. Okay? Try it out with different fingers too. You know, that's a big thing too. So another one you can do is the A minor pentatonic scale up at the 5th fret. So it's the same pattern. Okay, now this one's a little more challenging because you don't have that open string, right? So what I would recommend doing, I'm at the 5th fret. Let's go through this together. We're going to grab the 5th fret, low E, 5 hammer on to 8. This is a little bit of a power to the pinky thing. You really want to throw that pinky on there. I have some students that can do it with the ring finger. I prefer the pinky. It just makes more sense for me. Hence why this podcast is called Power to the Pinky. I love my pinky. I use it. I call it my secret weapon, okay? So low E, 5 hammer on to 8. Then I'm going to go to the A string, 5 hammer on to 7. Okay, and remember, when you're doing this, really plant that finger on there. You really want to make sure your 5th fret is planted and that pinky just lets it take over, okay? Same when you move strings. We're going to go A, 5 to 7. I'm not picking up I see this a lot. Like, see how my index is coming up from that 5th fret? You want to just leave that down. It's your anchor. Same on D, 5 to 7. Same on G, 5 to 7. Same on B is actually going to be 5 to 8, okay? And then we're going to go 5, 8. And you can go backwards with the pull-offs on there. So that's kind of a cool pentatonic workout thing, and you can do that with all the pentatonic positions, but depending on how new you are to the guitar, those are great to start with. Okay, now let's talk songs. All right, so one that I really, really, really like is Over the Hills and Far Away by Led Zeppelin. Okay, and for teaching purposes, I'll play some of that, which I actually think, so I've actually learned with a lot of songs that I've learned over the years because I've been playing for 20 years almost, is that I play it the Taylor way. We're just going to call it that, okay? It's something close to that, so bear with me here on that, okay? So what we're going to do, let's just do that much of it, okay? We're going to go to the G. We're going to do a hammer-on pull-off. Look what I did there. I went open, hammer on, 2nd fret, pull back off to open, all on G. Okay, then I'm going to grab the 4th fret of the D string just by itself. And you could technically pull it off there to an open. I don't know if they pick it or they pull it off, but maybe pull it off just for this exercise. And then play the G open. So it has this, I think I picked it there, right? But and a lot of solos have that kind of, or even like a trill. That's something else you can practice too. So a trill is doing like a hammer-on pull-off over and over again without stopping. And you can try it with different fingers. Oh man, mine are dying. Look at that. Nope, it's not happening. Power to the pinky is not powering. It's powering down. So that's another one. And then obviously you can do Thunderstruck by AC/DC. So when he recorded it, he actually took all the strings off the guitar, just had the B string left. But what I would do, and when he plays it live, I've heard a couple different things. I heard he does some hammer-ons and some pull-offs, just for teaching purposes here. So look, my right hand, sorry, wait for it. And I'm bumping into some, you can hear me hitting some extra strings there. So don't be like me. But you can really get a good workout there doing that back and forth with Thunderstruck as well. So I would definitely recommend trying that out. Any of those would be good. Really, really look for the Metallica stuff is going to have hammer-ons, pull-offs. There's some Beatles stuff that does. Look for some solos. Again, I like all the classic rock. So I'm going to have you check out like Led Zeppelin, Beatles, Eagles. Look at the solo for Hotel California. It has a ton of bends. That just has some cool technique things in it, period. And then, of course, Sweet Child of Mine. Definitely look at that for hammer-ons and pull-offs. Sweet Home Alabama, all the sweet songs. Sweet Dreams Are Made of Cheese. No, I'm just kidding. Well, actually, I'm not kidding about that. So I hope that helps. And again, I love doing exercises. I love doing exercises. And if we want to do a whole podcast just on hammer-on and pull-off exercises, we can do that all day long. One more tip I have for you for the hammer-ons and pull-offs is, let's even make it a power to the pinky thing. You can just take your pinky on any fret and any string. I'm going to start with an open too, and as well, So we're going to go open, hammer-on 4, which sounds kind of like gibberish. That's a really good way to get some power to the pinky going in there too with the hammer-on. So if you can hammer on with your pinky, and you can also go open 1, hammer-on, open 2, hammer-on, open 3, hammer-on, open 4 as a hammer-on, and all your strings. And you can go up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I hope that helps. Ollie, good luck. Best of luck to you. Episode 6 of Power to the Pinky podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and hope to answer some more of your guys' questions soon. All right, checking out now, Taylor Marbury, Power to the Pinky podcast.